you could be using the wrong focal lengths for your portraits without even realizing it. Focal lengths not only change the way a location looks due to distortion and compression, but it can also change the way someone's face looks. Today, I'm comparing every main prime focal length side by side on location so you can see exactly what each one does to a portrait and choose the right lens for your next shoot. And thank you to Professional Photographers of America for sponsoring today's video. I'll let you know more about them later on. I have 4 different comparisons that I'll be capturing with all these focal lengths today. For the first comparison, I'm going to take a photo on each lens with Maya and I standing in the same spot. For the next 3 comparisons, I'm going to move around to frame each shot to look the same, and that's where we'll really see the difference. I have 3 of these, 1 full body shot, 1 mid-length shot, and 1 close-up headshot. Starting off with the widest end, we have 14mm. I find ultra-wide focal lengths like 14, 18, and 20mm can be used for a variety of photography styles like landscape and astrophotography, but they are also very popular for videographers, specifically vlogging. With vlogging, since you're holding the camera out in front of you, in order to achieve a good image with enough focus on yourself, plus context in being able to see the environment, you'll need to use a wide-angle lens like this. Since 14mm is so wide, you have to stand super close to your subject to get them to fill the frame, which causes a lot of distortion and is unflattering. This is why you don't normally see wide-angle lenses being used for portraits. Next, we have 24 and 35mm. These are also considered wide-angle lenses, but we are now getting into usable territory for portraits. I love using both these focal lengths for portraits, but not your traditional close-up portrait, because just like our widest focal lengths, using 24 and 35 in this way is going to cause a lot of distortion in someone's face. I like using these focal lengths to create environmental portraits, which allows for more context in the frame. This means that there is a more even emphasis on the landscape as well as the subject. Both these focal lengths are great for video, landscape, and travel photography as well. I use 24mm a lot for cinematic video, and they're both popular for wedding photography, usually because of that context. So wedding couples want to see more details in their photos, not just photos of them, but photos that show also the location and the people that are at the wedding. Next, we have 50mm. This is such a versatile focal length for different photography styles. It's not too wide where you'll struggle getting too close to your subjects to be able to compose shots. It's not too zoomed in where you might feel limited sometimes with having enough space to move around in. In terms of looks, a 50mm is also a nice middle ground between a 35 where you can easily incorporate the environment into the frame when photographing portraits, but you are also starting to get that nice background to foreground separation that you see in longer lenses like 85mm without having to get too far away from your subjects to achieve that look. I also love how during a portrait session, it's easy to capture a mixture of shots from full body to mid-length close-ups with this one focal length. Moving up in focal lengths, next we have 85, 105, and 135mm. These are considered our portrait telephoto focal lengths and are very popular for both portrait and wedding photography due to the dreamy look that you can create with them. These longer lenses are going to flatten the scene in your photo, and that's what causes this beautiful background to foreground separation where your subject can really pop out from the location. Another way to think about using longer lenses like this is for reach. When I'm photographing a wedding ceremony, for example, I don't want to get in everyone's way, so I like popping on a longer focal length so I can still capture great compositions without getting too physically close. So now I'm going to take photos with every focal length again, but this time Maya is going to stand in the same spot and I'm going to move around to frame each shot the same. This way you can actually see how each focal length really affects what a portrait looks like, and this can help you make the right decision at your next photo shoot. Before we do that, I want to let you know more about the Professional Photographers of America, which is an online community with a ton of benefits for you if you're a photographer or run your own photography business. As a PPA member, you can protect your photography equipment with up to $15,000 worth of coverage, protection from damage, forced entry theft, and have access to data loss recovery. They also have resources to help you get started with your new or established photography business, like customizable contracts, pricing guides, portfolio reviews, marketing templates, and heaps more. So if you want to learn more about PPA, please make sure to use the link in my description to get a discount on your membership. The reason you don't normally see portrait photographers using ultra-wide lenses for portrait photography is because of how physically close you need to get to your subject to frame a good composition. Even when I'm getting a full body shot of Maya, I have to be so close to her, and this is causing a lot of distortion. The 14mm shot actually makes the 24mm almost look like a 50 in comparison when you look at it next. With the 24 and 35mm shot, even though I still have to be quite close to Maya for my compositions, you are able to start to get nice shots. Switched over to my favorite focal length, which is the 35. So we'll get a full body shot. In both these photos, you can easily make out what the background is, even though I'm shooting wide open at f1.4, and the background is far away from my subject. This is why both these lenses are great for environmental portraits and to show off your location. Finally, as I shoot with 50mm through to 135mm, you can see how the longer the telephoto lens is, the more it compresses the scene. I'm on an 85 for our next full body shot. Now I really have to start getting further away from Maya. 135 is the longest lens we have, so I have to be the furthest away from our subject. So this is how far away I am for our full body shot. What I mean by that is the background looks like it's being pulled closer to your subject, giving the image a flatter perspective, so the background feels closer and more prominent behind your subject. In the next comparison, I decided to shoot in horizontal orientation so we can see what it does to our location a bit better. Where you see the biggest jumps in the way the photo looks is between 14 and 24mm. All the corners that are getting pinched in the 14mm shot are flattened out with the 24. Then 24 and 35 look quite similar, where they show off a lot of the location, although when you flick between them, you can see a really big perspective difference. And again, I did ask Maya to try to not move her feet at all throughout this entire video so we could have the best comparisons possible. The next big jump we have in visual difference is between 35 and 50. In the 50 shot, the background really starts melting away and becoming more obscure. 50 to 85 is another big jump, where in the 85 you can now only see a very small slither of the background. Let me jump for a second between 35 and 85 for you so you can take a look at the difference. At this distance from my subject, the portrait looks very similar, but the difference in the background is huge. It's actually really satisfying flicking between all these comparisons. For our mid-length shot, I'm now on the Sigma 105, and I'm trying to leave the same amount of negative space at the top of the frame for each shot that we do. Finally, all the telephotos look quite similar, so 85, 105, and 135, though they do each offer more compression each time. Telephotos are great to create dreamy photos with, as it can transform the location you're shooting in and help you focus on certain details in your frame. It makes your locations look so different to what you see with your own eyes. I also find it really handy to use long lenses like this when I'm shooting in a busy location, as it can help remove distractions since you're shooting with such a narrow field of view. Okay, home stretch because I'm tired of changing lenses, but finally I have a close-up headshot comparison to take a look at, and this one is the most interesting. With this lens, I'm gonna have to be very close to you. How close does it focus?
Whoa.
Oh my gosh, that is so close to you.
There's still so much background.
There is,
That's
it's so crazy.
Okay,
Okay, sorry. I'll let you. But it's like a fisheye lens or something, it's crazy. This is the best example as to why you don't want to capture portraits with an ultra-wide angle lens. A 14mm headshot will not be a true representation of what your subject looks like. Maya looks completely different in real life compared to this photo. This wide-angle lens has completely changed the shape of her head. It's stretching her chin down, making all her facial features appear really close together, and making her nose bigger. I'm also uncomfortably close to her to be able to capture this shot. Do not recommend. I'm still pretty close, but I'm gonna start getting further away. With the 24 and 35, like I mentioned, they are great lenses to use for some styles of portrait photography, but one place they fall a bit short is in headshots. While they definitely look better than the 14mm, wide lenses can still change the perspective too much because you're physically closer to the subject, which can exaggerate facial features in close-up portraits. Which brings me to a topic that I want to talk to you about, which is how a focal length can really change what someone's face looks like. Choosing a focal length for portraits is not just an easy one-size-fits-all or just put on an 85mm lens and call it a day, because even telephoto lenses can cause distortion. So take someone like me, for example. I have quite a round or wide face, and I find that when I get my portrait taken with an 85, it flattens my face out even more than what I see in real life, and it looks even rounder in a photo. So for me personally, I prefer having my photo taken on like a 50mm, which is a little bit wider. It gives a more realistic perspective to my face where it looks more natural and less flattened. You'll be able to see this effect the most with these close-up comparisons of Maya. How much not only her face shape changes, but the positioning of her facial features change depending on what lens we're using. While it's common knowledge that wide angles cause distortion with close-ups, longer lenses cause distortion as well. So with these longer lenses, you're standing further away, which compresses the perspective. Facial features appear closer together, and that can make a face look flatter or wider than it does in real life. So let me know in the comments what focal length you normally like to use for your photography and why. For me, it's a 35, of course, because I love creating environmental portraits. But that is all I have for today's video. Make sure you check out PPA with my link down below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!